you're a gamer, right? This is part of this is our moniker, right? So Wrestle DX plus Alpha, of course, it has a full-on moniker there to wrestling games and gaming in general. So you and I have played wrestling games since the very, very beginning. What stands out
again? What stands out?
So early
well,
days.
the early days of wrestling games was awful.
Yeah.
Let's just put it how it was. I mean, my very first game that I had was on the Master System.
Yeah, I had that one.
Just pro wrestling.
Just pro wrestling, yeah.
And it was short, stumpy things with huge heads.
Thumbs with just coloured legs, yeah.
Yes. And it basically a punch kick fight, and then I think there may have been a power slam or something.
And a pinfall.
A pin.
Yeah, that was it. And I was like, oh, this is wrestling. But there was some good attempts before that, right? There was attempts on the NES, there was attempts on the earlier consoles, the Atari, to bring wrestling, I guess, to the home market and to the arcade. But I guess wrestling really, it didn't look like WWE, it didn't look like New Japan or All Japan at that time, sorry, until I guess the 16-bit era, which I guess perhaps is where we should begin, perhaps, and then look back on a different episode.
Yes, it's definitely where we should look. The 16-bit era, surprisingly, the Super Nintendo, particularly with the Japanese market, had so many professional wrestling games on it. It is absolutely astounding. Researching for this segment of our show, I came across games I'd never even heard of. I mean, there's all the 5 Pro Wrestling games, there's New Japan games, there's All Japan. There was the women's title, the women's titles.
Yoshiba Wrestling, yeah.
There is so many. There are titles I didn't even know was out there. I mean, there's a Stardust Suplex. I'm sure you've never even heard of that.
No, I'm looking at you going.
And that's on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, so the Super Nintendo, as you said, had tons of 5 Pro Wrestling games, and every one of them was great. And I'm looking down this list that you've compiled together. And I can see Shugo Katayoki Astral Bout, American Tag Team Wrestling. That's a little earlier, actually. Man, I'm just looking. So yeah, three count bout on the Neo Geo. It has Anita Otobushi on FMW. FMW had a game. What was that?
Yes. I know. I was like, oh. And you know the really crazy thing was, I actually had it on emulation and never really picked up on it. I've had it for years.
FMW, the most extreme wrestling game in the fucking world, had a game and I didn't even know. I didn't know that until I saw this list.
It is just ridiculous list.
So let's stick with the 60.
How many games on there?
So, like I said, it's Japanese audience, wasn't it? That was where the big market in terms of wrestling games was. And if you were an importer at the time, I guess you got to see lots and lots of different wrestling games. In the UK, however, we really just got a filter of what was coming through the US. So we definitely had there was quite a few WF games came through. What other ones stood out? What were the what was the 16-bit era like for wrestling in the UK? Because the ones I can really remember are WF Superstars on the Mega Drive, and I guess there was the arcade game, which was the Mortal Kombat type game, and there was Steel Cage Challenge.
For the 16 bits, for Mega Drive and Super Nintendo, it was the Royal Rumble. Sorry, WWF Royal Rumble, WWF Raw, WWF Super WrestleMania, and then the Mortal Kombat style one was WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game.
And that was followed up by In Your House, wasn't it? That actually had finishers, which were fucking like arcade machines falling from the sky and silly things and cars going through.
Yeah.
The other thing is that we owned them.
To be honest, it was good enough to be different. I enjoyed it for what it was. If you were looking for a strategic wrestling game, don't look here.
No.
If you wanted a bit of an arcade blast, a bit of a laugh, that's it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And I seem to remember like the that got released on the Saturn and the PlayStation as well. The arcade game did, and that's when the wrestling games got. Shall we say the 3D ones kind of came along and they tried to take the simulation style on a little bit better.
Yes.
But so, what other titles stood out 16-bit then?
After WrestleMania, the arcade game, that arcadeness of it, The next title for me that came along when I first got my PlayStation was Power Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, dude, Power Move Pro Wrestling. Love that game.
That's right, a fictitious roster, but it had the full strategic idea of being careful, wearing down your opponent, doing moves at the right time.
Yeah, counters, camera angles. Yeah, it was good. Actually, for its time, I think that was probably one of the better wrestling games. Like I say, it was non-licensed, so there was characters in it. I think there was like General Og, I think was one of them, and was one of the main characters. I seem to remember was in there. And they had like lots of different wrestling styles in the game as well. There was a Lucha Libre character, there was a female Yoshipura kind of character, there was strong style, there was American pro wrestle, like Hogan style wrestler. But yeah, you're right. That was a really good game. That was early 3D, so it doesn't look too great now. But at its time, it was a big difference compared to the arcade blasts that we'd had on the 16-bit era.
Yeah, I mean, Capcom got in on the action with Mortal Bomber Duo, or Saturday Night Slammers.
Saturday Night Slam Masters. Fucking love that game.
That's right. Yes. And then, of course, SNK got in there with their 3-count bout and their strange wrestling game of King of the Monsters 1. Not 2, because that was completely different. But number 1, essentially, it was a wrestling game. It was 2 giant monsters. You button mash to do moves. There's some sort of electric fence that acted as if it was ring ropes. And you also got bonuses for smashing up the city and using that on your opponent. And at the end, after you knocked him down, you actually pinned them.
In fact, it was a wrestling game with Godzilla.
That's it. It was a nice change of pace. It was a bit ridiculous, but hey.
I think the wrestling actually has always kind of played to that, though, isn't it? It's played to being... It's almost silly. It's over the top, its characters. So I guess, actually, it could work even today. You know, you could throw on a Godzilla and Gamera into a wrestle-style arena. Actually, you'd play it and go, it's not too bad. It's all right.
To be honest, there has been later incarnations of such games. They are listed on here as well. I mean, in fact, actually, there was a very rare Mega Drive game called Beast Wrestler. And that was wrestling with an RPG twist to it. You should check that out.
All right, man. So I think... so of the major wrestling companies then, so we had the WF games that came out, so like... but WCW had a SNES entry, right? And I think there was even a NES entry, I think. But I can remember...
Yes, that's right, yes.
WCW...
and a couple of Game Boy as well.
Super Brawl, I think, was the SNES one. And yeah, there was
that's right.
And there was the main event on the Game Boy. I did own Super Brawl, and it wasn't awful, but it wasn't good. It sat somewhere between... But I could tell it what it was trying to be. That was it. I seem to remember it had like the kind of isometric, but they kind of fought side on.
With the whole wrestling games of the 16-bit era, a lot of it was very limited moves. It was the characters looked very similar. The actions were very linear, with the exception of a finishing move. Everybody had the same moves.
Yeah.
Although WWF Raw, the characters did have slightly different moves.
Yeah, that was the Mega Drive and SNES one, wasn't it? Where I think actually it was, I think LGN, the legendary, terrible video game producer, I think was the developer of that. But you're right, it actually had finishing moves as well. You know, like the little power bar you had, you whacked the button as hard as you could, and then if the power bar got high enough, you could execute your finishing move. I think there was like in that bar, you can whack your button and you can get to a certain point that would execute a fall-away slam or a power bomb or something. So actually, it had a decent amount of moves for the game at the time, and it had some half-decent animation. That's really cool.
Yeah, for WWF Raw, they tried to do as much as they possibly could. It was the first one that was 4-player. It had the Royal Rumble option with a maximum of 6 characters in the ring at one time. There were, I think it was 12 wrestlers in there.
So a
12 wrestlers.
A decent attempt at the time, right? So but then you had like WrestleFest, everyone's favorite, the arcade one, right?
Oh, Yes, was that 91 or 92?
Yeah, so we're talking the 16-bit era. It was arcade only at the time, wasn't it? It didn't even get a home release
That's
until
right,
like what,
yes. No, never did.
96? No, so
No,
no.
they tried to redo it for the
The modern era. Wasn't it?
iPhones
That was it.
about
My phone.
2012,
Yeah,
and it looked like they was going to do it on the Xbox 360, but they never released it. They changed their minds. I was all poised for it. I read about it and thought, yes, I'm having that.
yeah. Because I can remember like seeing
no.
Miz and John Cena
Yeah.
in there and stuff, but yeah, it never came off. Which is disappointing because
I was all gutted.
for a lot of people that actually is the Epoch arcade wrestling game.
Yeah. The old school button mashing, the larger than life characters is very well done. It was pleasant to look at, and it really did have an arcade feel.
Yeah, it felt like an arcade game, didn't it? So I guess it wasn't trying to be silly. It wasn't trying to be over the top. It wasn't trying to be like WrestleMania was. Actually, it was trying to be an arcade game. It was fun, but everything looked like
Fighting game.
yeah. And arcade fighting games at the time, I guess, were still your Street Fighter 2 had hit the market by then, maybe.
It was round there. If not, it was definitely Street Fighter 1,
Yeah, that was.
which was not the game breaker that
Yeah, no,
number 2 definitely was.
no. So like Fire Pro, I guess Fire Pro is going to be in there for my mention because of course Fire Pro it's now coming to the PlayStation. Doesn't have a UK release date yet. Disappointing. And I've tweeted Spike a couple of times about a European release date, and they're like, they said it's going to come, but not actually said when it's going to come yet. It's got a Japan release now. I think it's like the 15th of August. So I think it's going to be out in Japan tomorrow. I think. America doesn't even have a release date yet, although it does say there's going to be an American release, but it doesn't say when. Which is a bit.
Did the same with Returns as well. That never got a UK release.
No, very weird. I actually made a video about that, right? Back when that game came out. I can probably still find it on my YouTube channel. So I emailed the company who did the translation for the European market, a company called 505 Games. They're based in the UK. They bought the license from Spike. They translated it into English, into Spanish and French and into German, but didn't release it here. They only released it in Italy. So what the fuck is that all about? And at that time, of course, Impact was doing quite well. Ring of Honor had already done 2 tours over here. WWE was doing really well. And it was like, wrestling is on fire. Right? Why are you not going to publish this? And I actually got an email back from them going, we didn't think there was the audience in the UK for a wrestling game that is Japanese-based characters.
The thing is, right now, I can only call it the success of New Japan. Having Fire Pro Wrestling plastered with New Japan wrestlers all over the front of it.
Yeah.
How is that not going to take off?
I mean, in that case, actually, looks pretty sweet having the side-by-side of the characters with the logo at the bottom. That looks fucking sweet. So, I really want a physical release of this. I mean, I'm sure I could get... if it's going to come out, it's going to hit PlayStation Network for sure. I want a physical release because it's probably going to be a limited run. I want my hands on it.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I've got the PC one on Steam and stuff because I did the... I supported their Kickstarter and stuff back when they did the early Greenlight release. I paid like £15 for it. Love it. It's got there's 93 pages, I looked earlier, of 50 characters per page of downloads. There's something 193,000 downloads on there of just DLC characters and costumes and rings and ring buckles and arenas and so on. So whatever wrestling fan you are, even the silly ones, they're all in there for sure already. So you can already play as New Japan in there because the wrestlers are already there. And all moves are already being created in there. So there's create finishes is all on there as well. So it really is something quite special to play as well.
Do you know what's really insane? How the UK has never really had too many Fire Pro Wrestling releases, and yet the Fire Pro Wrestling games have been going since '89.
Yeah, dude, it really has. I mean, I think there was Super Fire Pro Wrestling was released here. We certainly didn't get the Saturn one. We might have got the PlayStation one. Might have. But I'm not sure.
I don't think we did. We got a couple on the DS. No,
No, you're
Game
right.
Boy Advance.
Yeah, because I have those. Yeah.
The Game Boy Advance. There was that god awful one on the 360.
It doesn't count. It doesn't fucking count.
No, it shouldn't count. I don't know why it's even got the name of it. It's
So,
just-
okay, why are we saying that? Because I guess if you haven't seen it, if you're a Fire Pro Wrestling fan, Fire Pro Wrestling basically is isometric ring, very strategic kind of wrestling game. This one is a complete arcade game. This is just... No, it's not an arcade game. It's just shit. It has the the Microsoft Avatar characters, like the Microsoft Mii's, basically. It's them who wrestle, and it's just shit. And it's not even isometric. It's side on instead of standard wrestling view. It's just a very poor moveset, and I don't even know how they managed to license the name to call it Fire Pro, let alone anything else.
No, it is the very sore thumb of the entire series.
Yeah, it's probably they probably just picked up the name and hoped it'd sell on it because it was shit. I mean,
And
we're
it's
going.
probably because of that is why we haven't got Fire Pro Wrestling Returns and Fire Pro Wrestling World.
You know, it probably is something led into that because it's always based on what the previous one had done. Well, this game did shit, so we're not going to be throwing any money at this one. Why publicise this one if the last one did terrible? Which is a bad benchmark, really, because sometimes you have to reset it to go, wait, this will sell because we've got this, and this, and there's a gaming market out there who want it. But until you reach that point, it's never going to happen.
It's crazy because Fire Pro Wrestling is like a whole bunch of Lamborghinis, and we're not allowed them. And then they gave us a Skoda, and because we hated the Skoda, we're not getting the Lamborghinis.
That's a good analogy, but yeah, you're right. That's exactly what it is. Come on, man. We need this game. We need it. Every wrestling fan out there wants this. New Japan is riding high right now. Wrestling is taking off again. This whole renaissance going on. So this game's got to come out. It better come out. If not, I'm going to have to import another one.
Yeah, I'd definitely import it anyway.
Because the thing is that PlayStation 4 is
just-
multi-region, so...
It'd just be so much easier to not have to import it.
Yeah. I don't want to go down that route again. I'd spent far too much money on import games back in the day. Not doing that again.
As did I.
Yeah, not doing that again. Don't have as much cash in the bank for that. So, dude, that's been our 16-bit and a little bit more chat here. And then we've gone into the games as well, as always. We've covered the 16-bit era of wrestling games. So whether you like it or love it, let us know. Please tell us. We need to know. We need to know whether this is actually worth continuing. We think it is. We want to talk. We want you to listen. And we want your feedback. Come and talk to us. Just leave us a message below. Hit us up on Facebook or whatever. Give us a like. Give us a chat. And just talk to us. Let us know this is what you want to see and how do you think we can make it better. We know that we kind of go off on tangent, but actually it's part of the fun because we're wrestling fans and we're gaming fans. So hopefully you are too. So make sure you say something. Please.
Please add us some questions as well. We'd love to answer any of your questions. As soon as we possibly can, we'll get it out on video for you. Between the two of us, we can definitely answer just about any question.
I think so too. All right, dude. So till next time, that's Christian, that's Kevin, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.